Hello everyone, I'm Todd McCluskey, acupuncturist in Washington, D.C. This is the final video of a 4-video series on needling. Today's video, we're going to cover body mechanics, but we're going to look at body mechanics from the entire body's perspective. In the first video, we looked at intention. The second video, we looked at a specific needling technique, cooling sky. In the third video, we looked at body mechanics, but really from a perspective of the second hand, or your supporting hand in acupuncture. This video is going to take all of those, tie it together, and put it within a larger context of how are you moving your body to enhance and empower your acupuncture. Body mechanics is a bit of a dry term, but it is a doorway into your inner self, into your own chi, and the ability to sense chi moving within you and therefore within your patient. This is the place where, as you hone this over years and years and years, you will develop better chi skills within yourself, a better knowledge of chi within your patient. And that's going to give you dividends for the rest of your career. Also, if you're a person like me that's very kinesthetic in nature, it just has its own, I guess you'd say, inherent value. I love spending time needling. I love moving with my acupuncture. As I do that, it just feels good for me. I can spend literally hours a day needling, and I mean literally hours a day, with a needle in my patient, grasping the chi, manipulating it, and it really leaves me feeling more energized and refreshed at the end of the day because it puts me in touch with my body. In a way, you can look at this as being another version of cultivation. I'm not going to go into deep levels of cultivation. I'm not a Qigong teacher or anything like that. But I know from experience that this is a doorway into yourself. And if you're kinesthetic in nature, if you like to be physical, you have to do this. It's going to be a game changer for you in your practice. Of course, it's something I'd say every acupuncturist should be doing. But if you're like me and you really appreciate your body, you really appreciate movement, this is going to be just the right thing for you. So in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple different ways to utilize your body, and then we're going to break down and look at a couple different areas of the body and how you might consider utilizing them or thinking of them as you needle or work with your hands. We're going to start this by looking at the point large intestine 11, the technique cooling sky. We're going to look at the second hand, and we're going to look at that intention, which is to cool and draw down. But before we do that, what do we have to do? We have to make sure our patient is aligned on the table. In this video, we're going to look at our own body mechanics, but that does not mean we don't miss our patient's body mechanics. How are they on the table? If their channels, if their limbs are all jankety and all over the place, their channels are all bound and they're going to have angles, and you're not going to be able to work through them with the ease that you want to be able to work through them. Set yourself up for success by aligning your patient nicely on the table. So when you are working with large intestine 11, if they kind of have their arm in a weird position, get it in a position that is right for you. Whatever that is. But for about everybody, you're going to see a general beautiful curve, whether they have their arm up like this on their hip, or maybe it's on the table like that. We approach with our intention, which is to take excess and drain it down. And we approach with our needle technique in our mind, and we say, well, I'm going to apply cooling sky. I'm going to grasp their channel's chi, I'm going to pull it. And I'm going to use large intestine 11 for whatever reason. I think it's just the most appropriate point for this patient with these symptoms at this moment in time. So we're heading up to our patient, we find large intestine 11, and we needle. Boom. We insert the needle. Boom. But do you see what I'm doing? It's all happening at once. My second hand, boom, is assisting my needle hand, boom, in freehanding the needle. And then my hip is needling, boom, boom. So my hand's needling, my fingers are needling, my hip's needling, my shoulder's needling, my foot is inserting the needle into their large intestine 11. Everything is going. And that's something I don't have to think about doing at this point. It's something that's becoming second nature to me. Now, of course, you could just slide in like this, and you can do a great job with that. But when you start to do this work, it gets in you, and you just want to Utilize your whole body all the time. Now, I'm going to advance. I move forward. Right? I'm advancing the needle with my whole body. As a matter of fact, often my arm doesn't move much, and sometimes my arm doesn't move at all. You can. You don't want to keep your arm locked, right? You have to have a nice opening in your armpit. You want to have a nice opening in your elbow. You want to have a nice opening in your lao gung, in your wrist. But you don't have to move your arm forward like this. You can move your body. So you move forward, and now you can grasp the chi. And when you do that J-hook with the needle, I'm J-hooking with my hips. So to exaggerate, boom, I'm grasping the chi. But I'm grasping the chi with my hips. I'm grasping the chi with my foot. I'm grasping the chi with my big foot or my big toe. I'm grasping it with kidney 1. Boom. And it doesn't take a lot of thinking. It just takes doing it a bunch of times. You do it a bunch of times, it becomes second nature to you. So you grasp large intestine 11 with kidney 1. Boom. Now, what's the technique? The technique is to pull chi down. The second hand is pulling, tractioning down, lifting up, and my body's going to do the same thing. So if you've watched this in the second video and the third video, you've seen that the idea is we're going down and out of the channel. So our vector is this way and this way. It's like we're heading in that direction. And what did we do? When we needle, we sunk a little bit with our hips and we advanced. So we've moved down, or we should say in and forward, and now we're going to go down and out. Now this is an exaggeration, right? That's not how you're doing it. You needle in, you grasp the chi, you have the chi, and now you're slowly, slowly inching back. Maybe. Or you've grasped the chi, and what happens is you're just almost like you're leaning away. You're leaning away. You're leaning away. And it's like you're doing this. It's like you're pulling and you're at a place where it feels neutral, but the vector is this way. Now, that's one way to look at how to incorporate your body into cooling sky, your entire body. So I want to take a second, break those down, because there's two really interesting points I want to present. The first point comes from Qigong, or at least Qigong emphasizes it. And that is, if you're going to be moving to the right and up, you first start by moving to left and down. Because by moving to left and down, you give yourself room to move to the right and up. This is a principle that you'll find. If you're doing Qigong, for instance, and you want to raise your hands up, you don't just raise your hands up. You start by sinking, and then you can raise your hands up. And if your hands are going to go down, you start by lifting and then going down. Your lift can be very small. Your sink can be very small. It's okay. But you want to have a little down before an up. You want to have a little up before a down. This is the harmony of yin and yang. So if you're going to end up going to the right, you want to start by going to the left. If you're going to rise, you want to start by sinking. And so you want to think about those basic principles as you're needling and incorporating your body into your needling. They're principles that you use for your needle, they're principles that you use for your hand, but they're principles that really you can see clearly from the lens of your entire body. Very important principle number 1. Number 2, there's a term. And this is a very important term. It's a term that Andrew Nugent had developed, and it's very appropriate, and it helps kind of give an image in your mind of what you want to do when you're incorporating your needle, your hand, and your body into your acupuncture. And the term is italics. I think I might have mentioned this in the second video, but it really is in this video, and when we're looking at needling through the lens of your entire body, where italics becomes very apparent, I guess you should say. So italics is just as we know it to be. If we have the letter, say I, this is the normal letter I. If we italics it, it's going to lean one way, or it might lean the other way. and this is italics. So when you look at an italics word, it's a little off. It's not straight up and down. It's leaning over just a little bit. And that's the kind of image that you want to bring to mind when you're utilizing and incorporating your body. Because in some cases, when you really have that chi, you have that large intestine 11, that chi, you feel, it's like you have the large intestine channel all wrapped around your needle. You don't have to do a lot. All you have to do is italics. Just italics. And you're almost leaning, you're italicizing, you're just pulling, you're italicizing just a little bit, and that causes a whole world to open up. So when you're incorporating your body, don't think about that you have to do gross movements, like very large movements. Sometimes you do. Generally, a large movement would be like this. But you can lean on italics as a way of thinking about putting motion into it. So for instance, if we wanted to go up the large intestine channel, let's just reverse it. We have it here, inserted the needle, got the channel. I'm going to now go up, so I might come back just a little bit, and then I'm moving forward, and I'm just italicizing up, up, up. So maybe I'm moving forward a little bit more, maybe I'm actually moving, or I'm just pressing and pressing and pressing. There are these moments in acupuncture where it's like you're on the acupuncture point, and it's juicy just to stay there, just to work that point. You don't want to go through it. You don't want to tap it. You just want to lean on it. And sometimes when you're in that position, you just go, this is the best thing to do for my patient. You just lean on that point and you italicize in. It's like you're pushing and just leaning against it a little bit. So that's one view of how you utilize body mechanics. So in the last video, we looked at the second hand, and we looked at a situation where you have maybe kidney, we're looking at the kidney shoe point here, and you're going to do a different needling technique. And that needling technique is going to be where you thrust in. You're thrusting in. So the intention of that needling technique, called Burning Mountain, is to draw chi in, gather chi to that area, because you want to really nourish that kidney. You want to bring chi and blood right to that kidney. Literally the physical kidney, but also the area of the kidney in Chinese medicine. And your movement will now be down, down, down. So your whole body's incorporated. And your left hand, boom, boom, and your needle hand is going. Now this is extremely exaggerated. I keep saying that in all the videos. This is extremely exaggerated, but it's like boom, boom, boom. It's all in, in, in. Of course there's some down, down, down. And what you'll notice in this is that, yes, the needle is moving down and up, but the needle is really moving down, down, down. And this is a fine distinction that I feel is difficult to articulate, but when you're doing a lot of manipulation with chi, at times, or different needling techniques, at times there's emphasis. There's emphasis. There's emphasis on one part of the movement. Because in reality, if I'm going down and up, down and up, down and up, I'm going down and up, right? But if I want to gather in, I need to emphasize one of those movements. Down, down, down. So I might be moving up just as much as I'm moving down, but there's an emphasis that comes in, an emphasis. And that emphasis comes in from your entire body, where it's like a heavy down. And then it's almost like you're allowing the needle to go up. Heavy down. Allowing the needle to come up. Heavy down. Allowing the needle to come up. And these finer points of needling are really seen when you incorporate your body into it. So suddenly when we're in body mechanics, we want to go back into needling technique. And we want to look at the second hand. That's why these things are all intertwined. This is one thing, one jewel with many facets that we can look at the jewel from. So that was a little bit of another perspective here. And that perspective, we're looking at a different needling technique, but we're emphasizing a different principle. And what that is that you might have, in a technical physical term of displacement, if you remember high school or physics in college, there's X displacement. So you might be going down 3 centimeters and up 3 centimeters, but when you're actually needling, the patient doesn't feel you going up. The patient just feels you going down, down, down. So that through your body, you can emphasize certain movements that changes the whole situation. And that's one of the important dimensions of body mechanics. So in that case, so what we've done so far, we looked at 2 different points of body mechanics through needling, giving you 2 examples. Of course, when you go back to clinic, you can use all sorts of things. You can incorporate your body in all sorts of ways. And in fact, you will need to, because quite often you're going to be in a less than perfect position for an acupuncture point. Maybe you're reaching around and you're needling from underneath. Maybe you're reaching and you're needling from here. Maybe you're in a place where you got to reach over here and needle that way. Maybe you're sitting in a chair and you're going to be faced with all sorts of different challenges. And the both interesting and also part of your job is to figure out, how do you incorporate your body through these challenges? How do you needle from your kidney 1 when you're sitting in a chair? How do you incorporate a chair when you're sitting and needling in different positions? It's all totally cool and interesting, and it's something you want to think about in your practice. The last part here, I want to take a moment and look at different areas of the body that I find very important when you're doing your acupuncture and how you incorporate them in. Now, we could say technically every area of the body is extremely important, and we could say definitely maybe the kidneys, or I should say kidney 1 is the most important area because that's where your feet are, that's where your grounding is. You might say, the hips are the most important, or the armpits are the most important, or your hands are the most important, or your mind's the most important. I mean, we can look at all these different parts. What I want to do is, and that would go on for hours, what I want to do is just add a few little tidbits for you. I want to talk about the waist, and I want to talk about the channel from the throat, armpit, elbow, wrist, lao gum, this passageway. This is something where I think I can add a little help for a lot of acupuncturists out there very quick. Yes, when I needle, I am thinking about my kidney 1. I'm thinking about Yang Chuan. I can think sometimes about my toes on the carpet, grasping through the shoes, what's happening there, all of that. But so much of my needling I find is derived from my hara, my waist, like this. So when you're needling, if you're a little, how can I say, reticent or feel uncomfortable or not too sure, well, how do I incorporate my body into this? A good starting point is to work from the hips. When you're needling, needle from the hips. It's sexier to say you're needling from your entire body, yes, but in practical terms, a great place to start is needling from your hips, because through putting your attention in your hips and putting your motion through your hips, you're really going to have access to drawing a great deal of power from the ground through your hips into your needle. You don't have to get as deep into your feet or your knees or all that. Yes, they're very important, but my suggestion for you is when you start to incorporate more body movement into your needling, start with the hips. It's a great place to begin. From there, grow down and grow up. The other little point, this is a special tip I want to give, is that the channel, how do I say, when we're doing acupuncture, our hands are so important. The sensitivity to our hands are so important. The temperature of our hands are so important. And that we can block off our sensation in our hands, or we can heighten our sensation in our hands. And one of the ways that I have found that mine can be opened up or heightened or blocked is from looking at the channel that runs through my throat, my armpit, my elbow, my wrist, and even into my lao gong. This is true for both your needle hand and your second hand. It also has implications down the road for body work as well. But when you're needling and you're getting into it, so maybe you say, hey, I heard in that last video that Todd needled Kidney Shu for 5 minutes on one side alone. I want to go do that. And you find yourself, you're needling Kidney Shu, and you're like, wow, this is great. I'm 2 minutes in. What you want to do is you want to begin to make sure that your hands are as open and available as they can be to receive from the patient and to control or manipulate the patient. And in order to do that, or one suggestion, is to make sure that your throat is open. So you might want to swallow, maybe drop your tongue. You're welcome to put the tongue to the roof of your mouth. I find all you need to do is relax your jaw, drop your tongue. That opens your throat. Then you want to make sure there's a little space in your armpit. Doesn't have to be a lot. A little space in your armpit. A little space in your elbow. Allow that elbow to soften just a little. Just softens a little bit. And then allow that wrist to get a little softer, and then you're holding the needle. Allow your lao gong right in the center of your palm to just get a little deeper. Curve your palm ever so slightly. Boom. And then feel what's changed. And I guarantee suddenly there's going to be a whole new sensation available to you. You may also want to, generally speaking, lighten up on that needle. It's too easy for us just to have a death grip on that needle and not even realize we have a death grip on it. So when you want to open up that chi flow, open, 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 open and round, light as you need to. Get a firm grasp, but as light as you need to. And suddenly, there's going to be an aliveness coming all the way through. Now, if you do that on your offhand, what's going to happen is you will notice as you open up your throat, your armpit, your elbow, your wrist, your lao gong, suddenly your offhand will become warm. Well, and if it's cold, it'll get more back to room temperature. Some of us walk around with ice cold hands. But by opening up these different areas, we also open up blood flow and chi flow into our second hand, which not only increases our sensitivity, but also provides a warming element that can be very, very useful in your treatments. That's a little internal tip for the day. This is the 4th video in a 4-video series of needling, and I really hope that through these videos you have gained something for your practice, that you've learned something that will be able to help your patients out, and has been able to deepen your appreciation for acupuncture. This is a beautiful art. I love it. It gives me, there's inherent value when I perform acupuncture, and partly due to the fact that more and more I am engaged with my patient's chi and my chi as I needle. And I really hope through these videos that opens a doorway for you. If it does, if you appreciate this in any way, what I'd say is subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's more videos coming out. Post comments below. Ask me questions. I'll offer as much help as I can. I want you to learn what I put out here. This isn't just a way for me to put a video out. This is a way for you to learn. If you like what you've seen here, also check out my website, toddmccluskey.acupuncture.com. Consider taking my class, Orthopedic Acupuncture. I'm going to be offering it in September of 2019, September 21st, 22nd. It's going to be Washington, D.C. It's going to be a great class. The title includes low back pain, but in truth, we're going to be looking at how do the leg sinew channels contribute to pain in the low back, the hip, the knee. We're going to be looking at that whole dynamic. We're going to be looking at sciatica, piriformis syndrome, all of these sort of things. And we're going to be doing it from a Chinese medical perspective. We're going to be looking at needle technique. We're going to be looking at how do you begin a treatment, how do you follow through with it, how do you end a treatment. And I am very confident that if you take this class, you will, one, be able to leave that class with new skills in your hand that you can take to clinic the very next day. And two, you will be treating pain, back pain, sinew dysfunctions better than when you came into the class. All right, thank you very much. And what I want you to do is stay tuned. In the next few weeks, I'm going to begin a new series on points. We're going to take a look at 4 acupuncture points. We're going to break them down, how you can utilize them, different needle techniques you can apply, and how you can work with them in maybe new and exciting ways. Stay tuned for that. Have a great time.